It is the Tridentine Mass in itself that is a formidable profession of faith and an unflinching refutation of the patched-together Reformed liturgy, whether it is celebrated by an old parish pastor or a newly ordained priest, regardless of whether he wears a Roman fiddleback or a medieval chasuble. It is that Mass, and the Mass par excellence, celebrated in the one rite that is truly extraordinary, not because it is occasional, but because it is incomparably superior to the Protestantized imitation that is the Montinian rite, which a curé of ours would have looked upon with horror. This Mass, the Mass of the Holy Church, the Mass of the apostles and martyrs of all times, our Mass, this is the Mass that truly causes them scandal. It is not Roman Berettas and bows that scandalize them. It is not the Mozettas and Rochers that scandalize them. The real thing that scandalizes them is the Catholic Mass. And this is what they rail against with the Rage of Heretics, the same people who preach welcoming and inclusivity, which applies to everyone without condition, except for good priests and faithful laity. In reality, this ought to be enough to convince us to totally ignore the last dying wheezes of a hierarchy that is blinded in both intellect and will because it is alien to grace. This umpteenth show of strength by Supich, who is cynical and ruthless towards the faithful, even before the canons of the Institute of Christ the King, can constitute a healthy moment of reflection on the many omissions and equivocations that need to be clarified, especially in the matter of acceptance of the conciliar mens and the Bergoglian magisterium. I trust that the canons of Christ the King and all the Ecclesia Dei institutes will be able to see in these days of trial a precious opportunity for purification, courageously witnessing to the necessary coherence between the profession of faith and its deep expression in the Mass, and the consequent irreconcilability between these and the doctrinal and liturgical deviations of Vatican II, because it is not possible to celebrate the Mass of St. Pius V and at the same time to accept the errors of its enemies. Supich knows this well, and this is why he wants to prevent the celebration of that Mass. He knows how much that Mass is a very powerful exorcism against the servants of the devil, both those who wear mitres and those who do not. He knows how immediately that Mass is understandable to anyone for its supernatural sense of the sacred and divine, the mysterium tremendum of Moses before the burning bush, and how that Mass opens the eyes of the faithful, warms their hearts, and enlightens their minds. After decades of unspeakable torments, the faithful are finally able to approach the majesty of God, to be converted, to change their lives, to educate their children in holiness, and to spread the faith by their example. What could be more desirable for a bishop who is truly a shepherd of the sheep entrusted to him by the Lord? And what could be more detestable for those who want to see the sheep be torn to pieces by wolves or fall into the abyss? The faithful, the lay faithful, priests and bishops have the sacred and urgent duty to rise up against the decisions of these completely discredited characters and to demand, without yielding an inch, that the venerable Tridentine liturgy remain an inviolable bulwark of doctrine, morality, and spirituality. We must obey God rather than men, especially when these men have demonstrated by their reprehensible conduct that they do not love either God or their brothers in the faith. Signed, Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano, 20th of July, 2022.